Okay, let's complete each of these practice examples. Hopefully you've tried them already, or if you haven't, go ahead and press pause and try them on your own before you watch how the video this video and see how I do it. So we're going to graph sine here, and so let's start with the basics of sine. Hopefully we're getting familiar with that by now. That goes 0 pi, and the sine of 0 pi is 0. Then we have pi over 2 has a sine of 1, pi, which has a sine of 0, 3 pi over 2, which has a sine of negative 1, and then 2 pi, which has another sine equal to 0. This time, though, we want to not just stop there. We want to also get an amplitude change, and so we'll have all the same points, but this time, actually, we'll have to do this real quick. We'll have all the same points, but instead of keeping the same, we're going to take all of our y values and double them, because that's what an amplitude of 2 will do. It will double all of our y coordinates. So I'll put 2 here. That 1 becomes a 2. That negative 1 becomes a negative 2. The zeros stay the same, and so our graph will look like this. And we can just put in coordinates for pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, and we go up to positive 2, down to negative 2, and 0, 2, 0, negative 2, 0, and try to connect it with a nice smooth curve. I know it's not perfect, but what I am going to grade is I'm going to ask you to give me the coordinates of each of the 5 points in the cycle, and so that being able to do that would be just 0 pi, 0, pi over 2, 2, pi, 0, 3 pi over 2, negative 2, and then 2 pi, 0. So that's the first one. In the second example, we have a cosine, and so we'll start with our cosine chart, which has the same x values, 0 pi, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. But in the cosine, we have cosine of 0 pi is actually 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. So we'll take all that and this time modify our amplitude because there is a 3 in front of the function, and so we'll triple all of our y values. So that becomes a 3, becomes a negative 3, and that becomes a 3. So we've got the 5 points we need, and we'll create our axis here. Same thing, we'll use pi over 2. I'll start with 0 pi. Pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And this time we're going to go all the way up to 3 and down to negative 3, so we create a nice axis that'll work for that. At 0 we're at 3, pi over 2 we're at 0, pi we're at negative 3, 3 pi over 2 we're at 0, and 2 pi we're back to 3. Try to use your nice smooth curve. I draw 1/4 at a time, and understand it would go past that, but all I'm going to want for the most part is going to be the points in the first cycle, and so for this that would be 0 pi 3, pi over 2, 0, pi, negative 3, 3 pi over 2, 0, and 2 pi, 3. Last one. It says it's a bit of a challenge, but it's not that hard for us, I promise. We've got a sine graph, so we'll start with our sine chart. Whoa, look how fast that was. Okay, now the amplitude this time is actually, the amplitude is 2, but this negative sign also turns our function upside down. And so what's cool about it is as long as we follow our steps on the chart, we'll get this right. And so a negative 2 out front is going to stretch everything by a 2, but then also flip the function over. So it won't touch the x values because it's not moving left or right or getting wider or skinnier. It's simply getting taller, stretched vertically. So the x coordinates stay the same. The 0 is still 0, but this y is going to become a negative 2, 0. This one's going to become a positive 2 because I'm multiplying the negative 1 times a negative 2, and that's going to lead to the positive 2 that I get over here. That'll stay 0. So we'll create the axis and still have our same x's, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, and we'll still stretch between 2 and negative 2, similar to an example we did above, but when we're at 0 pi, yeah, we're still at 0, but instead of rising up like the other sine graphs have done, this one's actually going to be flipped over and it's going to go down to negative 2. Then at pi will be at 0, 3 pi over 2 will be at positive 2, 2 pi will be back to 0, and so what we have is like a picture of an upside down sine graph, a sine graph that's been flipped over. And so if I wanted the 5 points here, I'd have 0 pi, 0, pi over 2, negative 2, pi, 0, 3 pi over 2, 2, and room for one more, we'd have 2 pi, 0.